Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode from the Paperhats Survival Multiplayer server. My name is Glitch. Last time, I made a decent amount of progress on the mansion here in the Dark Oak Forest. Today, I want to keep working on that, but to be honest, there are a couple of ideas that have popped into my head for the project that are kind of time consuming. So I figured I can let them work in the background while I work on the mansion. Now, one of the things is, though, these are going to take a little bit of setup. So, before we dive into that, let me give you a quick update on the progress I've made off camera. Now, for starters, the more I walk by this entrance, the more I don't really like it. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. It's more functional than anything else because though we're on hard mode, I've got this door set up so that the way the game thinks, this is actually open, this is actually closed, so it fools zombie AI so they don't break it down. That being said, though, I've started working on laying out a more grand entrance. That's going to be a project for a little bit further down the line. We're getting there, but I'm not quite ready on that one. Another thing I wanted to do is I started working on some more designs, and even as I'm recording this clip, I'm getting a couple of ideas of how I can make these walls a little less bland. Beyond that, I started putting up the walls of the second floor, and I've got also the beginnings of an idea of what I'm going to do here in the game room. Over here, still aging copper like nobody's business. And also, I've been working in creative off and on to figure out how in the world I'm going to put a roof on this place. Now, the other thing that I thought about doing today is I want to put in some kind of an armory, and I think that's going to go here in the middle. Um, but there is a slight problem. You see, one of the ideas I have is throughout the season, I have collected all of the smithing templates that are available in the game. And because I have a large amount of diamonds, I can replicate these. And basically, I want to do a display of all the possible armor trims in the game out there in the armory. But the issue being, even though I can get diamond armor and I've cured these guys enough that I can go ahead and just buy them and get them going, yeah, it doesn't take long before they're out of stock. Which, even if I do this repeatedly throughout the day, they eventually won't refresh their trades until the next day. So, yeah, if I want to do this, it's gonna take a good bit of grind work. So I figured while I wait, while I'm working on getting all those materials together so that I can have that kind of display, well, I guess I had another thought. You see, earlier in the season, we had a build contest, and Mr. Gold gave us each a prize box. And in that prize box was something new to the game. He gave us a sniffer egg. Now, I also inherited a second one when I took over Super's base. And I thought, why not go ahead and come up with some kind of area where I can have both a greenhouse and a little bit of a greenhouse and a place for the sniffers to roam. That gave me the idea to come over here to the bee farm, which we have, I think, officially finished with honey blocks for the season. But if we do, I think I've got it covered. So I think my first step is I'm going to need to wait till nighttime so I can take this down. But I think this area here is going to be a place where I can go ahead and hatch these sniffers and get to know some of the newer mobs in Minecraft. So let me get that set up and I will be right back. There we go. That should set things up well. It occurred to me actually as I was getting ready to build this that, I'm using a lot of copper in this build, and well, while I wanted originally to have a pen for the sniffers, I might as well set up a little bit of a honeycomb farm as well. Now, I didn't want to go crazy and have a ton of stuff, so I think I came up with a design that hides the honeycomb farm in plain sight and still gives our sniffers somewhere to roam around. So, what I wound up doing was I set up an enclosure. We'll take a better look out there in a second, but I wanted everything to run into an auto sorter. And I have to say, this has got to be one of the most compacted versions I've ever done of this. There's nothing different in the design, just how I configured it wound up being nice and small. I figured I'd need a place to have the torch flower seeds, the pitcher pods, and since I'm going to go for honeycomb, that'll be there as well. And also an overflow chest. To give you just a quick peek behind the curtain, what I did was I set up a minecart track running all over the enclosure. Now, it's currently turned off. Like I said earlier in the season, I'm really trying to have all of my farms have an on and off switch. But then once the minecart collects stuff, it will come up here to the minecart unloader, which will feed into the auto sorter. I really love this design for the minecart unloader just because it is so very small. Now, beyond that, I wanted to also incorporate some of the newer blocks. I wanted to put in the copper door, and I do have to say, just like the regular copper, this takes forever to age. I need the copper that's out there for my roof, and I decided I want to do some copper up here too. That's just going to age on its own. I am not watching any more copper age. uh, But I left the on and off switch for the minecart is right here, and if I push the button, now that we have um the copper bulbs, which basically are a one block T flip flop. Thank you, Mojang. Um, but now that we have that, I can literally just hit a button, and that will turn that on, feeding into a comparator, which will then activate that powered rail down there. Out here, I went ahead and found a couple of spore blossoms in a lush cave and just tried to decorate. I went with the azaleas because I wanted to do cherry trees just for the particles, but unfortunately, they have a habit of, well, not wanting to grow in such a small space, whereas the azaleas do. I just realized I have a hole, so let's go ahead and unfortunately, I have also come to the conclusion that discounts Dave's days are numbered. Um, every time I try to come in here, uh, it's just getting to be such a pain in the neck to run all the way around. So I'm really, really thinking of starting to put an entrance right there. Um, so now the bee to get the honeycomb, I figured I would go ahead and set up a honeycomb farm, and these are very basic. Gonna try and break this with a silk touch, break this with a silk touch. There we go. Okay. So what'll happen is I'll put the bee farm there. I need to put a campfire under it when I place it, but I'll put the bee house there, and then the every time the observer detects a change in the state of the bee house, it will fire the dispenser because there's a piece of redstone dust going across there. When it's full of honeycomb, the dispenser, which is full of shears, will fire, and the honeycomb will just fall randomly on the floor. But then the minecart will go ahead and pick it up. So let's go ahead and put that one back and put that one back. Um, Now before I do that though, I do need to get our sniffers going. So what we're gonna do is got now according to the Minecraft wiki, if these things are planted on moss, they will hatch faster. So let's go ahead and we're going to just put them down. And it looks like I have a little bit of a wait. So while I wait, I'll close this off eventually and before I put the bees in. But I've started also taking all of the armor that I'm buying from the armorers and getting things set up so that I can get my display of armor on the go. So I think for now, I'm going to go ahead and work on that and leave the recording on. And hopefully, very soon, we'll get to see some adorable little new mobs. So I'll be right back. Is that are they are they starting to crack? You know they say a watch pot never boils, but I guess that applies to eggs too. Think we're getting closer. Anybody in there? Oh, well, hi there, little fella. Oh my word. You know, I've seen these. Oh, and there's the other one. Oh, you guys are adorable. Hi there. I love the little noises they make. Aw. Well, now I get now I guess that since we have these guys hatched, it's time to get this place closed in and get our little buzzy friends in here. So yeah, let's get that set up. There we go. That gets our bees back in action, and while it's not going to be the most efficient farm in the world, I have to admit that at least I think it'll be a nice decorative farm for, well, just my purposes, and it allows me to enjoy these new mobs. Now, I do have to admit that I realized I made a bit of hit a bit of a snag when it comes to the armory. In the time that I was waiting for the sniffers to hatch, you know, I had already laid in the floors off camera, but I spent time working on getting everything set up for an armor display. Now, I did have another thought. I have just about a full set of every spare other armor in the game. I'll have to either craft up a few things or or buy them from an armorer. Might even put a basic enchantment on each just so they have that nice glint. But I realized one unfortunate thing. Yeah, I'm going with diamond armor, and I do have an item frame and an armor stand so I can basically display them. Gonna go with redstone because, well, you know, it's awesome and it's me. Um, but while I now have taken the time to duplicate up a full set of every armor trim in the game, I've got the trims, I've got the armor, I've got the display stuff. Unfortunately, I'm just shy on the amount of ancient debris I'm going to need to make this work. Well, I guess it's off to the nether for me. There we go. That should just about do it. All right, back to the overworld. Now that I'm back in the overworld, it's time to start working on the actual putting together of this room. Although I do have to say, I did realize that I'm also still missing a couple of things. I did have the realization as I was mining that we're in a new update, which means there are two new armor trims that have been added to the game. But at this late in the season, well, to be honest, I really can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to find them. But that being said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as I set things up, put in like a placeholder for them just to make sure that they're accounted for. And if I do find them before the end of the season, I'll add them in. Um, One other thing I'm realizing is I really do need to get a roof over this place. I went on a little bit of a side project while I was basically just waiting for the sniffers and things like that. Um, so I decided that I have all this extra armor, and now I've gone ahead and crafted up the complete set, but I thought, why not find a way to display up some of the armors and tools that, well, to be frank, they get used in Minecraft, but they don't get seen as much. You know, things like a trident or my crossbow, displaying my shield. And so to that end, I started working on come down here, I set up a little area to basically work on hatching up some turtle eggs so that I can craft the turtle helmet. Now, unfortunately, while sniffers have the mechanic that they can hatch indoors, and realistically speaking, if you also put them on the moss, it does cut down the time. With turtle eggs, on the other hand, it's a 3 or 4 in-game day process of just waiting for them to hatch. So, unfortunately, that meant a lot of AFK time, and I have had, on 2 occasions now, some uninvited guests spawn somewhere up there and drop in on me, as in a pillager patrol. Now, I think that's because right now the second floor of the base is open to the sky. So, one, I want to get this room closed off, but two, I've got to get a roof over my head. But for now, it's time to while those eggs hatch up, it's time to go ahead and get going on getting this room set up and closed in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and I will be right back. Oh, oh wow. Okay, well that's timing. All right, here, let's grab that. And oh, well, I was gonna feed these guys, but I think what I'm gonna do is let's go ahead and get one more set of eggs. Okay, while you lay your eggs, I'm gonna drop this off, and that makes enough scoots for me to get a turtle helmet together. So I guess I need to get you two out of here into the water. There we go. All right. So you guys be free and join your brethren wherever they've gotten to. Okay. Now I guess it's time to finish up the room. Although collecting all those scoots for the turtle helmet did remind me that there is actually a new set of armor in the game that well, while I can't wear it, I can still display it and collect it. So, not to get distracted or anything, but, road trip, anybody? You know, it's funny how ideas sometimes come to you. Um, I was so enamored with the idea of going on a road trip to look for that new armor set. Yeah, I kind of forgot a bed. But I mean, because I'm going to have to fly overworld, I figured I'll just go ahead and stop at a village and borrow one. So I stopped at this one here, and there's a cave right behind that you can see is lit up. As soon as I landed, I got attacked by a couple of skeletons. And, well, they dropped some bones, and that reminded me of something else. You see, well, I'm over here in the snowy plains, but right over there is probably a snowy taiga, and there is also another new mob added to the game. So I think, on the way to looking for that new armor set, I'm gonna grab some sleep and stop in and see if I can find another new friend. All right, let's see what we can find here. You know, with Mojang adding all the new wolves to the game, I do have to confess that I was really tempted to go and collect them all up. But being honest, there was only one that really caught my eye, and that was this little guy right here, the Ashen Wolf. I think that's because when I was growing up, I had a Siberian Husky, and I don't know, just reminds me of my old dog. So let's go ahead and hey, come here, come here. Uh-oh. Well, the good news is I've been keeping a store of bones in my ender chest just in case, and aw, I'll have to figure out a name for you. But I think, yep, you're definitely gonna come home with me. So let's go ahead and grab my ender chest and get back on the road. What do you say, boy? Ready for a dirt road trip? Let's go. Okay, so I think my next stop on this road trip is gonna be here to the savannah. Now, being honest, I just realized after I got out here that there is a savanna relatively close to spawn. But this particular savanna, if you can look off there towards the end of the render distance, that's this zombie village I passed through on the way to look for the Woodland Mansion. So, one of the reasons I'm out here, though, is I think, oh, aha! Yep, I think, you stay here, pupper. I will be right back. Is we're going to go ahead and meet up with another of the newest mobs in Minecraft. And I do have to say that these guys are in the running for some of the cutest little things you ever saw. The armadillo. Now, the fun part is I love the fact that when you run up to these guys, they'll startle and, or he usually will, hello. Well, apparently you're a friendly little guy. Well, nonetheless, I went ahead and I'm going to need a crafting table. And I went ahead and got myself brought some uh, copper and killed a bunch of chickens to get me some feathers because these guys drop if you brush them. They're scutes, and I don't. It uses up quite a bit of durability on this. How many? Hello. Oh, wow, that was fast. How many do I have? 4. Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and while I'd love to take one of these little guys home, I'm gonna grab some extra. Let's go ahead and that's 8. How many do I need for the actual? Oh, I need 6, and I've got 8. Perfect. Okay. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm actually closer to the Woodland Mansion than I am to home. So, I guess I gotta go further away to get back. So, I'll meet you back at base. And we're back, and I gotta say, it's really good to be home. But now that I have all these materials gathered up, it's time to, well, put the finishing touches on the armory since off camera I actually got everything together. So, let me give you a quick tour. So, before we jump into that, I do want to do one thing. On that road trip, which turned out to be a lot longer than I thought, I decided upon a name for our little furry friend, and I decided to go with Buff, who was our first dog growing up. And though I don't have a ton of memories of him, he was still part of my journey in having a pet. So, Buff, welcome to the party. Now, down here, of course, we do have K9, who will always be the faithful friend. But before we get you suited up, let me go ahead and show off the armory. Now, I have to admit, I am really happy with how this place came out. It was a real challenge trying to figure out ways to decorate, especially in the realms of the fact that I wanted to show off both armors, but also, kind of go through the Minecraft journey. So I started off back here on the back wall with some of the early game armors. I mean, you do have your leather armor, which is only craftable, therefore it's on a crafting bench. Put a stone sword and a pickaxe, because well, we all start somewhere. And then of course we progress into the iron and upgrade our tools. I couldn't figure out what to do with the chain, except for the fact that you can often buy it from villagers, so it just seemed appropriate to put a block of emerald under it. And also, it's something you find through your exploration. So the spyglass seemed appropriate. Um, on this side, I decided I wanted to kind of give an homage to some of the more both the basic and the unusual tools of Minecraft. We have the crossbow and the goat horn, but we all need a bed and a bucket of water and the lowly torch which lights the way. I also wanted to make sure that I showed off a shield, tridents, and the fact that you work towards diamond in it uh, as the game progresses. Over here, I wanted to put gold armor somewhere, even though it's practically useless except for the nether. I just wanted to have it somewhere in the room. And then, of course, over here, I've got my diamond armor progressing up to netherite. And one thing I did forget to do, I'm going to take that down. Since I gathered up all that netherite, I put a lodestone here behind the netherite armor. So, wanted to go ahead and one, get the advancement, and two, well, remember that it always points home. Um, over here on the side, I did some interesting things with armor stands. I did not know that you could push blocks through them, so I decided to go ahead and hang the elytra here the on an armor stand. And I don't know how clear it is, but one of the things I find is really neat is if you let an elytra get to absolutely one durability, it'll actually break and drop you out of the sky. And I had one that I had forgotten to enchant, and I was wearing it, and I almost died. Thankfully, I was over water, but that I decided to save it, just leave it in its state. Um, then of course we have your netherite tools and shears. I figured were another thing that often is there. And also, one last thing I wanted to throw on was a turtle helmet, which I have to say has the weirdest look in the game. But I figured it would be good to just, since it is part of the game and something that, again, isn't used a ton, it'd be kind of cool to just hang it up and place it in. And last but not least, I went ahead and grabbed some extra scutes, and I still have some left over. But since Mojang, one added in all the dogs, and two, they added in wolf armor, I figured K9, who has been our trusty companion for the longest time, should be the first recipient of the dog armor. I may die it in time, but K9, gotta say, you looking rugged, buddy. And before I forget, there is, of course, the armor display. Because one of the things, though, I wanted to show the progression of the game, I wanted to also show off all the different armor stands that are available. Um, eh, this was a really big challenge to try and figure out how to do decoratively, but I figured I'd use the upgrade materials behind them, and then I could display both the pattern, the trim, and also um, armor itself. Went from some of the ones that are found through exploration, the two ones that are related to pillagers, the two deep sea ones with the coast and the tide, and then of course the ones from the end kind of fell in a weird place because Well, you got the spire over here with the end stone. I did have the problem that there are 16 of them at present, so I wasn't sure how to do that, so I had to wind up stacking netherrack and blackstone on them because, well, one, the snout is duplicated with blackstone. The rib is with netherrack, and then progressing over here to some of the actually quite rare ones with, for example, the wild, which can only be found in jungle temples, and of course the two from the ancient cities. But all in all, I think the armory is looking good, and now it's time to move on to the next project, which means I've got some serious amounts of grind work because yeah, this place needs a roof in the worst possible way. And along the way, I also need to figure out the last few rooms before the end of the season. But that's going to have to wait for next time. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and also consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. My name is Glitch, and I do hope I'll see you next time for the next episode for the Paperhats Survival Multiplayer Server. Thanks for watching.